I had seen Paul's film, Bloody Sunday, and it was gritty, edgy, and realistic. In short, it was exactly what we were looking for. Steven Spielberg loves these movies, and obviously he's been here from the start. And he's very involved. I talk to him all the time. Paul's vision for the movie was that it was very real, that the theme park is real, it exists. So we went to great lengths to create a world that was real.
He's the invisible architect behind some of cinema's greatest adventures, the producer who turned chaos into classics and dreams into box office gold. Frank Marshall doesn't chase the spotlight. He creates the conditions for others to shine. For 4 decades, he's been the steady hand, guiding impossible projects through impossible odds, the problem solver who makes miracles look effortless. But when he reflects on the films that shaped his approach to movie making, Marshall doesn't sound like a Hollywood power player. He sounds like a craftsman sharing trade secrets. The best producers are like good parents. You know you've succeeded when nobody notices what you did. For Marshall, cinema has always been about collaboration. Not the kind of teamwork that gets talked about in press conferences, but the real daily grind of bringing hundreds of creative personalities together in service of a single vision. The films that taught him how great projects get born, how impossible logistics become legendary sequences, how the right people in the right roles can transform good ideas into unforgettable experiences. From epic war dramas to intimate character studies, from samurai warriors to Western gunfighters, Marshall's 6 favorite films reveal the blueprint for how movies become more than the sum of their parts. Here comes Frank Marshall naming his 6 favorite movies. The films that taught him movie making was the ultimate team sport. 6. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. David Lean made a war film about obsession disguised as duty, and for Marshall, watching Alec Guinness's Colonel Nicholson build a perfect bridge for his Japanese captors while losing sight of which side he was actually serving, it was the ultimate lesson in how perfectionism could become its own trap. Here was a film that understood the dangerous allure of craftsmanship, how the desire to create something magnificent could override common sense and even moral clarity. The story followed British prisoners of war forced to construct a railway bridge in Burma, with Nicholson gradually becoming so invested in the project's success that he forgets it will aid the enemy war effort. But Lean's genius was in the production itself, the way he orchestrated massive logistical challenges in exotic locations to create something that felt both intimate and epic. The film required building an actual functioning bridge, coordinating hundreds of extras, and executing complex action sequences in challenging tropical conditions. Marshall discovered it early in his career when he was learning that great films required great leadership, that someone had to be the general coordinating all the moving pieces while maintaining focus on the larger mission. The film's exploration of how perfectionism could become destructive resonated with his experience managing demanding directors in complex productions. You see River Kwai in Marshall's approach to every ambitious project, his understanding that logistics and artistry weren't separate concerns, but interconnected challenges. The Bridge on the River Kwai taught me that great films require great generals, not just great artists, that someone has to see the forest while everyone else focuses on individual trees. 5. The Apartment, 1960. Billy Wilder made a corporate comedy that doubled as a scathing indictment of American business culture. And for Marshall, watching Jack Lemmon's C.C. Baxter navigated the brutal politics of office life while maintaining his essential decency, it was a masterclass in how entertainment could carry serious messages without lecturing audiences. Here was a filmmaker who understood that the best way to critique a system was to make people laugh at it first, then realize they weren't really laughing at all. The story followed Baxter as he climbed the corporate ladder by lending his apartment to executives for their extramarital affairs, gradually realizing that success built on compromising others wasn't worth achieving. But Wilder's genius was in the balance. The way he found genuine humanity in what could have been pure cynicism. The film never condescended to its characters or its audience, treating everyone as flawed but fundamentally redeemable human beings trying to survive in an imperfect world. Marshall connected with the film's insider's view of how institutions really worked, recognizing parallels between corporate America and Hollywood's own power structures. The way Baxter learned to navigate office politics while preserving the apartment taught me that the best entertainment comes from understanding people. That audiences will forgive almost anything except dishonesty about human nature and the systems we create to organize our lives together. 4. Seven Samurai, 1954. Akira Kurosawa made an epic about 7 warriors hired to defend a village from bandits. And for Marshall, watching these diverse fighters come together, despite their different backgrounds and motivations, it was the perfect template for how great teams assembled themselves. Here was a film that understood that successful collaboration required more than just talented individuals. It demanded people who could complement each other's strengths while covering for each other's weaknesses, each bringing something essential to the collective mission. The story followed the recruitment and training of the samurai, showing how each warrior contributed unique skills while learning to function as a unified force. But Kurosawa's genius was in the character dynamics, the way he developed 7 distinct personalities who remained individual while serving the larger group. The film's 3-hour runtime allowed for deep character development, showing how trust built gradually through shared challenges and mutual respect rather than instant chemistry. Marshall discovered it during his early producing days when he was learning that assembling the right cast and crew was more art than science, that successful films required finding people who could work together under pressure while maintaining their creative independence. The film's detailed preparation sequences, showing the samurai studying the village and planning their defense, became his model for thorough pre-production. You see 7 samurai in every Marshall production, where diverse talents unite around a common goal, from the Indiana Jones films to his work mentoring young filmmakers. 7 Samurai taught me that every great film needs 7 samurai, even if they're behind the camera, that the magic happens when the right people find each other and commit to something bigger than themselves. 3. Lawrence of Arabia, 1962. David Lean made a desert epic that redefined what cinema could achieve on an impossible scale. And for Marshall, watching Peter O'Toole's T. Lawrence navigate both the vast Arabian landscape and the complex politics of war, it was the ultimate education in how ambitious filmmaking required equal parts vision and logistics. Here was a production that succeeded despite every conceivable obstacle, proving that the most challenging projects often yielded the most extraordinary results when approached with proper preparation and unwavering commitment. The story followed Lawrence's transformation from eccentric British officer to legendary desert warrior, but Lean's real achievement was in the filmmaking itself. Shooting in actual desert locations with hundreds of extras, coordinating massive crowd scenes, and capturing intimate character moments against impossibly grand backdrops required a level of organization that bordered on military precision. The film's famous introduction of Omar Sharif, emerging from a desert mirage on camelback, took days to achieve but created one of cinema's most unforgettable entrances. Marshall studied it obsessively during his early career, recognizing that Lawrence represented the gold standard for location filmmaking under extreme conditions. The production's meticulous planning, from water logistics to crowd control, became his blueprint for managing large-scale adventures in exotic locations. You see Lawrence of Arabia in every Marshall production that ventured far from Hollywood sound stages, from the jungles of raiders to the remote locations of his nature documentaries. Lawrence of Arabia taught me that logistics can be poetry if you do them right, that the most spectacular sequences are built on the foundation of careful planning and respect for the challenges that spectacular locations present to cast and crew. 2. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, 1948. John Huston made an adventure film that stripped away all romantic notions about treasure hunting, and for Marshall, watching Humphrey Bogart's Fred Dobbs descend into paranoid madness while Walter Huston's wise prospector tried to hold the group together, it was the definitive lesson in how location shooting could either make or break a production. Here was a filmmaker who understood that authentic adventure required genuine hardship, that the best stories came from pushing cast and crew into uncomfortable territory where real emotions emerged naturally. The famous scene where Dobbs loses his mind wasn't just acting, it was the result of weeks in harsh conditions that stripped away pretense and revealed raw human nature. Marshall connected with the film's practical approach to exotic filmmaking. recognizing that the best adventure films came from teams willing to endure real challenges together. The way Huston managed his actors and crew through difficult circumstances became Marshall's model for leadership under pressure. You see Sierra Madre in every Marshall production that chose authenticity over convenience. From Temple of Doom's Sri Lankan shoot to the demanding schedules of his documentary work. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre taught me that adventure films are about character, not just action, that real locations and genuine hardship create performances that no soundstage can duplicate. 1. The Magnificent Seven, 1960. John Sturges made a Western about assembling the perfect team. And for Marshall, watching Yul Brynner's Chris Adams carefully select 6 gunfighters to defend a Mexican village, it was the ultimate masterclass in how great films came together through inspired casting and chemistry rather than star power alone. Here was a director who understood that successful ensembles required finding actors who could serve the story while maintaining their individual charisma, each bringing something irreplaceable to the collective mission. The story followed the recruitment and training of 7 gunfighters, but Sturges's real achievement was in the casting process itself. Finding Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Charles Bronson, and others at crucial moments in their careers, then creating space for each to shine without overwhelming the group dynamic. The film's famous opening sequence, where Chris and Vin demonstrate their partnership by driving a hearse through hostile territory, established the template for how great collaborations announce themselves. Marshall discovered it during his early days working with Spielberg and Lucas, when he was learning that the most important decisions happened before cameras rolled. The film's exploration of how different personalities could unite around shared values became his philosophy for every production. The Magnificent Seven taught me that magic happens when the right people find each other, that successful filmmaking is about assembling teams where everyone brings their best while serving something larger than individual ambition. And there it is. 6 films that didn't just entertain Marshall, they educated him about collaboration, craft, and leadership. The movies that proved great filmmaking requires great teamwork, that behind every legendary film stands a magnificent 7. What films taught you about working together?